All right, so we are kicking off a very special episode of Tables Turn with a good friend of mine who really needs no introduction, Lil Rel Howery. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
And it's crazy because when I think about Tables Turn and sitting at a table, you and I just 2 weeks ago were breaking bread over lunch, having really honest and vulnerable conversations about life, the world. It's a lot going on right now.
You'd have thought we were like we went to high school
Besties.
together and just decided to catch up one day. Because it was a very honest, real conversation.
Yeah.
But I think like when you meet other people who like comfortable with who they are.
Yes.
And it's like, all right, it's whatever. Whatever I say is the truth, so it's what it is.
And I think that's the thing, right? Like when you have real connections with people, you know, you can't be anything but honest. And I think that's the type of friendship that we have. And people talk all the time about LA and how fake it is. That hasn't been my experience. How about you?
No, I think you could live anywhere. I think fakeness and all the stuff everybody complain about is everywhere. But for me, any place you live in, you just find your group.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I found my group out here. I don't necessarily chase or run to be a part of stuff I don't have to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. I think even before we met, I saw that about you. You just seem to be very intentional about the spaces you enter and the people that you keep around. So I always admire that.
I just realized something today. I was driving here and I was like, you know, my kids are here for the summer. So it's summers with dad type of thing. And that's, if I'm not working,
Yeah.
that's actually all I want to do is just hang. I was like, I don't necessarily want to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you get things and say, I'm going to go out today to get away. But I'm like, I don't necessarily care to actually. I actually like just chilling with them and relaxing.
Yeah.
But I wasn't always like that, but that is where I'm at right now. in my
Yeah,
life.
me too. Yeah. We're inside. We're not outside. All right. So before we get started, I first have to give you your flowers and a proper introduction. You really have just been killing it since you were 17 years old as an actor, comedian, producer, director for hits like Get Out, my kid's personal favorite, Uncle Drew. But you're also delving into a lot of blockbuster films and documentaries even around environmental justice. So first, Rel, I am inspired and in awe by just all that you've done since you were 17 years old. How did it all start for you?
It's crazy. I say maybe it even started before that, actually.
Wow.
Well, not even maybe it did. Like, I think, you know, you do all the stuff at church, in which I did. I played the drums, and I started playing the drums at church at like 7. And I learned about, like, watching the drum every Sunday. And one day just jumped on at the church, and my uncle, who's the pastor, was like, when you learn how to play, you want to start playing for the children's choir? I'm like, yeah. But no, it's always been this artsy bug on me, and it came from my family, really. And once I made a play, so I went to a private black school in Chicago called Prophet St. Mel. Shout out to Prophet St. Mel. And in 6th grade, I auditioned for a high school play. I saw the little flyer around school and just showed up. They didn't say I couldn't come.
So you just showed up.
Just showed up, auditioned, and booked it as a doctor or whatever. But then that's when I was like, oh, okay, I could for real do this. It's not just my imagination of me sitting at home. So I started writing and doing all this stuff like at 12, 13.
I think we talked about this at lunch the other day, but you never had a plan B.
Never had a plan B. This is it.
How did you know at 7 years old that this was your path?
It's not that I knew. I just wanted to see what would happen. I mean, it's like you grow up in church or grow up around a family that teaches you faith and believing. And I didn't have a plan B because I believe what God showed me the first time. Like, why not do the thing you're excited about when you think about it?
Yes. So it's been now, I don't want to age you, but it's been, a long journey.
Yeah.
And I feel like you are just scratching the surface. And although you've won awards, you've been nominated for NAACP awards, won MTV awards, and the list goes on, you seem to just keep having a hunger to innovate. And so what keeps you sharpening your tools in Hollywood and even evolving to new roles, even as a director?
Well, it's interesting, because, directing is new to me, but it's not new to me. It's something I always thought I can do. I'm just now stepping out on faith and saying, okay, I'm ready to really do this. So directing this documentary about, into environmental races, which is even deeper than that. It's not even just race, it's environmental segregation, environmental capitalism. It's like
Yeah.
all have to do with the environment, which is crazy.
Crazy.
Which you would think if y'all gonna care about something, it's something we all gotta breathe and do. But nobody do.
Yep.
But just even that, and just even with the full feature, I'm a direct. Like it's just I've been ready to do a lot of things a long time ago. I think this part of my life has been interesting because, first of all, I'll be 45 this year, so it's the second half of my life. That's how I look
We're
at
the
it.
same age. Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. Most people are scared to say that, but I'm not. It is the truth. I want to do things with a lot more intention. Like God made a lot of my dreams come true. Like I've seen a lot and done a lot, and it's been amazing. But this next half has to be way more intentional. Not even just on what I put out there for my community and my people and my culture and all that. It's more or less for me. Like I really want to I want to just do things bigger and just take advantage of every opportunity that everybody doesn't get. I don't want to take myself too serious. I want to just have fun doing what I love to do, and at the same time, show my kids what it looks like to live your dream for real, fully.
Chicago. How did Chicago mold you and shape you to sit here today in LA on Melrose, like literally making your plan A happen?
Chicago, you got some tough skin, and I think, people always look at the violence of Chicago, and it's like, that's why you tough. It's like, no, it's actually because of the talent pool. There's some really talented people there.
Absolutely.
And especially in the world of comedy, So coming from the stand-up world, which is where I started at, and I'm still there, that is my, stand-up is like breathing in me,
Yes.
you know what I mean? But you have to be really good. You have to follow some beast on stage. And you have to get really good, really fast if you want stage time.
Well, were you always good?
That's why I said you have to get really good. I don't think no, that's not true. I've seen comedians start with standing ovations.
Wow.
One of my friends, Brian the Wildcat Smith, Chicago. To this day, I've never seen nobody have a start like him.
Wow.
Like, first time he went up, he got a standing ovation. Which was crazy. And I was like, damn, I've been doing this for 2 years. I ain't got no standing ovation. But he got one the first time he went up, and it blew my mind. We done become a really good friends. But yeah, it can happen. But for me, it was a different path.
Yeah.
And a lot of it for me in the beginning was being a fly on the wall, to be quite honest with you, which I am still to this day. I'm really good at just taking in information and watching how other people do stuff. I'm like, I'm going to do that this way. I'm not going to do it that way. That's don't seem like a good way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I lived in Chicago too when I worked for President Obama. And I was
Who
there.
didn't you work for?
I had a lot of jobs.
I had to start calling you the black godmother.
I had a lot of jobs. Call me Clarence, Mrs. Clarence's twin.
Yes.
I try. I aspire to, just keep my hands in a lot of places to make change. And in Chicago, I remember living in South Loop. This was the 2012 re-election campaign for President Obama.
Ooh.
And you're right. I remember being surrounded by people that were so dope, so talented, so gifted. And I was just like, man, what a place to be and live in. But I can't imagine being from Chicago. It's something special.
Chicago made me feel like a star first.
Yeah.
So when I used to come out to L.A. like to showcase and audition, people be like, why are you so comfortable? Why are you so confident? I'm like, I already feel like a star. It's hard to be popular in that place.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So if you are and you're able to build that, and I worked really hard on those comedy nights I started and all those things. It's so funny. Like I'm watching what the internet has become, and I remember MySpace being my friend when I was a comic in Chicago. MySpace. I used to send. It used to take me 3 to 4 days just to message all the people I did to come out to my show. I did that every single week for 5 years straight.
So, the whole platform that we're building here with Tables Turn is about just expecting the unexpected. And there's a saying, as you know, Rel, that's we make plans and God laughs. And so, what I've been dying to ask you about is, what in your life would you say was your most defining pivot? Like, what was the gut punch that you didn't see coming? Was there ever a moment that you just thought you had it all figured out and life said, no, we have other plans?
Well, that happened a million times. I don't even know how many times I could count. It still happens. But then when do you embrace that, though, right? And that's to me a part of the pivot question, because I've made pivots and I didn't know what the outcome was. You know, when I decide, I'll never forget, and I've done this a couple of times. The first time I did a big pivot was I was a house MC at the Comedy Club, Jokes and Those Comedy Club in Chicago. And, man, I just kept hearing God telling me to leave. And I'm like, God, I can't leave. I have these babies. I just got married. I need this job. What's going to happen? But God was loud about it. And this was actually a test, too, who was real in my life. So the owner of Jokes and Notes, Mary Lindsay, who club I was leaving, because it was two things. That was part one of it. It was telling her that I'm leaving the club. And I said, well, that's what God told me to do. And she understood.
In the moment.
In the moment. Wow. And I love that about her. Okay, so part two of that, I was already signed to somebody, Knowledge Beckham, which is my good friend now, that I'm doing the festival with I was telling you about. But I was with this other big management group out here that was taking a bunch of us and trying to get us in Hollywood. And it was something about the guy he was partners with. And God was like, you need to leave. So I called him. And I said, hey, I got to get out of this. And I'm sorry, you know, whatever. The black guy understood. I said, well, because God told me. He said, yo, well, I can't go against your faith. You know, that's what he said. But the white guy, who's been out here longer, we got into a heated argument about it. He told me that I won't make it out here in Hollywood. I'll never be in any movie. You need me, all this other stuff. And I was like, you proved my point. You proved to me that what God was saying has to be true, because you showing your true colors, big homie. And that was a pivot. Let's fast forward to the Oscars. And Get Out's nominated for an Oscar. And guess who I see on that carpet?
Mr. You'll Never Be Anybody.
Mr. You Ain't Never Be Anybody. Just couldn't even say. I was just in my tuxedo, smiling. I think I was doing an interview maybe. And was like, I started laughing hysterically. And you almost shouted on that carpet.
But talk about tables turning,
Man,
right?
That's exactly what that was.
So what does God's voice sound like to Rel?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Is it a feeling? Do you hear him? Like, how does he come to you?
It's been all those ways, actually. It's a specific voice I can only hear advice from in my head.
Yes.
And I think it's one of the characters I do on stage. I'd never tell nobody which one it is, actually. But I do a bunch of characters about bits, but it's a certain voice I listen to.
Okay.
And ain't nobody business what that voice is. And I know that's God.
Yeah.
Because it's just the sound of it. I'm like, I got to hear what this is. Now, that's one way. You know, sometimes it's through songs. Sometimes it's through moments. Sometimes it could be some angel you didn't know. It's people I saw in places I've never seen again. I don't care if it was like me volunteering at a homeless shelter. It'll be somebody, and I'm like, I volunteer every year, and I've never seen that person again. Who gave me this crazy advice and just never saw him again. Like, that really happens to me. So it depends. It depends on what the moment is. I mean, sometimes your own voice could be God's voice. I don't know if you ever caught yourself like praying or just having a conversation with God, and there's maybe something you're upset about and frustrating about. And as you're talking, the words that's coming out your mouth now is not you.
Oh, yes. It's like an outer body.
It's an outer body experience, and it's coming out your mouth.
But let's stay here for a second, because I think about so many people, right, who, like me even, who have felt stuck in a relationship or stuck in a job. And you hear God's voice or you feel God's voice. For me, his voice normally comes in a whisper. in moments of solitude and stillness. So usually early in the morning, or if I'm working out and I'm just in silence, I can hear him speak very softly, but I'm clear that it's him. And whenever I've heard his voice, and I'll be honest, like you, I've had moments when he's told me to move, and I've still waited years to obey. So for you in those moments that you said, hey, I got kids, I got bills to pay, how did you move past that step to be obedient?
It took a while to get to that point.
Same.
It was a lot of healing that had to happen first before that, because God was telling me to do things. Like one of the toughest times ever in my life was when my mom passed. And it's so funny, right? Even doing this interview, because I guess I don't know, man. It's been a weird season of people, I guess, telling these real stories now. And I'm like, where's this coming from?
Like what?
So recently, and this is a true story, and I don't even mind. I actually like that I could tell it how it is, which I felt like I've told this story times before, but I think like now people listening more, so if I say something now, it's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
But when my mom passed, I was in a dark place. And it honestly took years later of therapy to me even understand how dark of a place I was in. I didn't realize how depressed I was and really almost suicidal, some of the stuff I was doing. I was getting to car wrecks, I was getting to fights. And so there's one particular story, which is a true story, not the way this dude told it. So it was a security guard at a club recently. I don't know what his whole thing is. He's telling all these stories about celebrities.
Okay.
He's worked at the Chicago club that he's seen come through. So he decided to bring me up, which I'm like, first of all, brother, when it happened, I wasn't even close to being a celebrity. You know what I mean? I was a local funny guy, but I wasn't that. You know what I mean? A lot of y'all liked me because y'all come to the shows, but nobody knew who I was.
He remembered.
But he tried to make in the story now. He's like, yeah, Real was one of these big celebrities. I'm like, brother, in 2009, I wasn't. And he was like, Real got into a fight with these vice lords, and he came outside with this drink, and he's like, yo, I could have my drink outside. And I told him to put it back inside, which was true. I didn't walk out of there with the drink.
Okay.
And he told me to put it down because I couldn't be outside with the drink, whatever. Then he said I started a fight with the vice lords. Like, I started roasting them and talking about them. He's like, you can't just talk about everybody. And they got mad and they knocked his teeth out and they hit him with a car. Now, my teeth, these are still the same teeth. None of my teeth, people keep telling me I got my teeth knocked out. That hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Only time my teeth ever came out was when they were supposed to come out. And I think that was like 7 or 8 or whenever the last real group of teeth came out. But the truth of that story is, I came out there, I was getting lit. I was in a dark place to the point I just wanted to fight everybody. And it wasn't even to win. I was in so much pain. I thought the physical pain would make it feel better. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And so these dudes was actually complimenting me. I remember that night. They were like, Real, you funny. I'm like, man, and I just got mad. And these were gang members, don't get me wrong. They were trying to calm me down, like, Real, we don't, dude, you good?
There's no problem.
There's no problem. We saying we're fans. So I don't give a, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'll kick you out. Look at your shit. I was just losing it to the point they had to do something. You can't be like some tough
Provoke
dudes.
the fight.
They're like, now we got to do this to you, brother. Because you making us look bad in front of everybody. We telling you we good. We don't want to do this, but we got to do it now. And when I tell you they tried to hit me with their car.
No.
But I only got clipped by this ankle. To this day, this ankle right here has a pin in it. And it's from me being clipped by the car on my ankle. Which is crazy. That's why I had to give my ex-wife a lot of grace. Because in that dark, imagine getting a call from one of your homegirls like, yeah, Real's in the ambulance. What'd he do now? He got into the fight with these vice lords and they hit him with a car. They hit him with a car? They caught his ankle because he dove out the way.
But I have to. That's funny.
It's a crazy story, but I could tell you give me a question, but
No, I think I just wanted to say for you to say, and it was beautiful to hear you say and compliment your ex-wife.
Yeah.
And the grace, and that's why it was important for me, especially to have Black men here on the show, because I think we don't have these conversations enough about the pain right, that we're holding in.
Pain, like full blown, wanting to feel physical. Like I could have got killed that night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you think you wanted to?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to do with that pain. And it's not even until, once again, I started going to therapy, 3 or 4 years ago that I'm like, oh, this all stems from all this stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, and I even think about it that way. I've been revisiting a lot of them, which is why I can say that, about my ex-wife, like, man, I put you through a lot.
It's big.
So we always want to be the victim of our stories, or
Yes.
like, this didn't work out because they did this and did that. But it's like, no, I was in a bad place. So I didn't help any. Which I knew she didn't know what to do with me, seeing me like that.
So mental health, and I think about therapy, was that for you what helped you kind of turn it around? Was therapy the answer for you? Because I think so many of us, I give myself as an example, right? Screaming inside when we think about the trauma and we turn to the news and everything that's happening in the world, cancel culture, war, economics, environment, WNBA, like it's just a lot going on with just like consumption. And I think for so many of us, we're walking around like everything's okay. We put on a smile, we put on the fancy outfits, we walk the carpets.
Yeah.
But we are screaming inside. So for you, when you were going through that just 3 or 4 years ago, what made you take the step to therapy?
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
This is interesting because I've never said what I'm about to say to you now, because I had to really look at this, because I think we tend to give therapy all the credit, but what got me there before? What got me to stay alive to that point?
Wow.
So for me, let's start with the prophetic word for me. Once again, I guess this is stuff I've never talked about. And I was praying about this before I got here. Like, let me say some stuff that I maybe have never said before. I go through that. I'm on crutches, right? I'm on crutches now. I was supposed to be on this comedy tour. Couldn't do it because now I'm on crutches, and they heard I got into this fight. And nobody want you on tour, you moving like that. And it was a big tour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lost that, I'm on stage now. Thank God for Mary Lindsay, who owned the club. She didn't stop me from hosting. But it gave me a different skill set, too. I actually became a better comic because I couldn't move. I had to just sit there. So I had to learn to just talk directly to my audience. Ain't no physical, nothing. Can't do no jump, no run. Just talking. And I had to watch the whole shows. So I couldn't just go in the hallway and be on like, yeah, I just killed it. And then, no, I had to watch everybody. Because I had to sit right there and come right to the stage, And so that was one thing. I got really depressed, very depressed, And my ex-wife didn't know what to do with me. Brittany was a baby, my oldest. And it was just some really dark conversations I was having with God. And then we moved to Harvey, this place, Harvey, Illinois. And I went to find a barber. I found a barbershop around the corner, and it was I'm a guy. This is being real. It was a female barber in there. I was the only one in there. I'm like, well, I need this haircut.
Let's pray.
Let's pray on this. And I was in a dark place, and she's like, "Yo, come in. I'm taking walk-ins." I didn't know that was gonna change my life because she's cutting my hair, and she's like, "Well, can I say something to you?" I'm like what? What do you want to say to me? She's like, "Well, God gave me a word to give you," and I'm like, "I don't know, sure." And damn, wow, I never talked about this. The stuff she was saying that day was like what I needed to hear. When you get the right prophetic word, just real talk, not somebody trying to guess what it is. We talking about like a for real thing. You like only God knows these conversations.
Yeah.
I just met you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And the way she was pouring into me, I remember going home in tears, telling my ex-wife this. She came back to the shop with me next time. And then she invited us to this church it wasn't even a building, a church building. It was in a hotel, like one of those little business centers, and they did a service. And that's where I met Pastor Katara, who, before I met any therapist, the prophet got me right. Or at least to the steps of just of believing again, and so when I had my first prophetic session with my mother was in that hotel business center.
Wow.
And she came and talked to me.
So that was your mom.
So I did an episode of my sitcom Rel. Nobody knows this. Nobody understood why I did this particular episode the way I did it. But I recreated the conversation that I had with my mom at church. Can you imagine how crazy that is? A Fox sitcom. They have no idea that I'm giving them a religious episode.
No.
I wrote that episode before I ever had a show. Shout out to Vanessa Bell Calloway, too, who played my mom.
Oh, I love Vanessa.
And I just love black women. All the black women on that set with my moms that week. I was because I was reliving it when we shot that episode. Something that came off of me, and to relive it again was a tough week for me. I flew in the kids that week because even though that episode my son played Little Me, and it was, my mother used to go to Bennigan's and she used to have these conversations with me about my dreams and stuff. So they replayed that, Vanessa and my son. But Vanessa Bell Calloway, and that's a full circle moment too, because I don't think she believed me. I met her at Sid the Entertainer's star. He got his star and he invited me. And we was talking at the little after party thing. And I told her, I'm a big fan. My mom loves you, and what's love got to do with it and all the stuff you've done. I can't wait to work with you one day. I'm going to call you. And I remember her telling me on set, she's like, people say that, but they don't do it. But I knew in that moment, when I sat with her, I'm like, that's going to play my mama. And she thought I was playing. No, I knew it, right.
Oh, she's amazing.
So that's where it happens. The prophetic word happened first, and it's just me believing God. Shout out to Pastor Katara. Everything that happened, from the sitcoms to the movies, was prophesied to me in that business center.
So when you found your way to the barbershop, almost talked your way out of it at the door. When you saw the barber, went in, and then you received the word, what did you feel like when you walked out? Were you clear?
I wasn't clear. I felt optimistic. Most people don't talk about prophetic words when they do, especially when it comes to faith. Everybody, people almost excuse my French, shitting on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I get it, because it's a lot of false things that happen.
Yes.
But for me, and that's why, I think you graduate at some point. I think where I'm at now, I hear God on my own. That's what all that's about. If I still have to go to the prophet, it's a problem.
Yes.
That means I haven't grown.
Yes.
I haven't, created a relationship with God. My prophetic words made me closer to God.
Same.
And it inspired me in ways. But when you start seeing the prophetic come true, the one thing I learned more than anything was to stay ready. That's it.
Yeah.
If I believe this word that's coming to me, it ain't gonna happen. I get it. That day you leave, you done wrote down everything. You might be reading that same prophetic word for 3 to 4 years before you see the result of it. But keep working.
And I think that's the thing, right? When life happens, right? Life is lifing for a lot of people right now, for all of us, really. And I think about how many of our friends right now, think about the strike, out of work. Think about, so many of our friends in the DEI space who have lost their jobs. I mean, the list goes on. Not to mention friends that we grew up with who never really found their passion or their way. For you and for me, I think, we carry a lot of privilege, right? We're in a city like this, fulfilling our dreams, but still tapped in to God and His Word. And I'm sure, like me, you protected with everything you have. Like for me, it's like if anything interferes at all with God's voice and my ability to hear his voice, I cut it now without hesitation. But for someone who may have been in that like valley for years, I'm talking about that low point, breaking point, and they can't see their way out and they haven't heard his voice yet. What do you do then?
You know, this is interesting. The sermon this week at church has been lingering with me all week. Shout out to Pastor Warren Campbell.
Yes.
It is that still, the quiet voice.
Quiet.
But the only way you're going to hear that, you have to seek and build a relationship with God. You have to get closer to God.
Yes.
He said something that was very cool to me, because this is where my brain works too. You know, we think about back in the day when Moses is yelling, all these people, they're yelling. There's no microphones, there's no speakers, and there's thousands of people there. But the only way you're going to be able to hear it is by getting closer.
Yeah.
Your goal is to get closer. I got to get closer. They say Jesus up here talking. I got to hear what Jesus got. I can't hear from back here. You got to get closer. Because let me tell you something. God ain't yelling at you.
Yeah.
God, what God got to yell for?
But Rel, I think for me, okay, here's where I struggle currently. The grief or the grief attached to choosing to follow God's path for you, right? Because a lot of people can't go, right? And so for me, when I think about friends, I think about romantic relationships, I think about just people in my life that are good people, by the way, right? It's easy to walk away from bad people. But when you have good people in your life that may not be able to go on the journey with you because God's saying, no, I need you to go alone. Or I need you to get closer to me, right? I need you to focus on me. I know when I've heard that voice, it comes with a lot of regret and a lot of guilt when you have to like move in another direction from people. Have you ever experienced that? And how did you navigate that part of it?
I mean, that's what divorce was.
Yeah.
And it's tough because, you know, the real part about everything is that we're all God's children. We all want to feel like we the favorites. Oh, I got more favor than you, and then if you do this to me, God gonna get you. But I don't know. God might not get you because you're God's kid too.
Right, exactly.
And so God know what you're going through to even if I'm receiving something, because I could be doing that to you. That's what gets deep about all this, right? It's when we can look at it from both sides of it. You know, you go to church and the preacher be like, you got your haters, and you know, people love to be like these people and these. But what if you are these people?
Yes.
You ain't always on the side that's like catching it. You
Righteous,
know what I'm saying?
right?
Yeah.
Right.
You could be the jerk. You could be that. Because that's when I do my relationship with God was on another level.
Same.
Was when I was when God would check me when I wanted to be right. Because in my ego, I have God's favor. God, I'm your favorite. Why you saying they right? Yeah, you wrong. This is why you wrong. And that's why I knew even me and my relationship with my fiance, the reason why it's so strong is because those moments I had where I had to call her back and be like, yo, I was wrong. I wanted to be right. I thought I was right. But I'm too close to God for God not to reveal to me what the problem is. Hey, this is what's going on, and this is why you're wrong. I get it. I know your intention, but this is also my kid. And she's sensitive in this way. And the way you said that hurt her because of this. I'm talking about right away I be hearing that. Now, it wasn't always like that. That's been like my most recent journey with everything has been like, which is so crazy for me because it's like it's in every part of my life now. I think that's the reason why, like, I mean, we talked about this at lunch briefly, but like, I look different because of that. You know, because now I get everybody want to do things fast. Like, this has been a journey for me, a consistent journey. Like everything, my mental, my physical, everything has been. And I hate the fact that sometimes people, like today, I think I posted a video and I didn't even think about it when I was posting it. And it's people complimenting me, like, oh, see your arms and all this other stuff. And then people are like, oh, he didn't took some Ozempic. You know what I mean? Because everybody's trying to find an easy way to do things.
Everybody wants the elevator.
I get upset when I'm like, wait a minute. That's a new bit I'm going to do about like, wait a minute, I did all this building my relationship with God and going to therapy, and all I had to do was take a shot, you know? But that is what I did.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I'm like, wait a minute, y'all didn't care to watch my journey.
Right.
I actually kind of put it there, but you didn't want to. Because you don't want to believe me. If I tell you the truth, you ain't going to believe me anyway.
Yes.
Hey, I fasted for the first 3 months, which got me in the habit of eating things this way. Like, it was a lot of things that played into this. Along with what I was already doing, and then I added on the next level stuff. I stopped drinking. I started things, yes. It was things attached to me that had to get off of me.
That part. I mean, divorce is like a death.
100%.
It is a death.
Yeah.
And I'd heard that.
At first.
At first. That's where I was going. I'd heard it before, but you're in a relationship for years and years, like we were, for me, over a decade. And then one day you wake up and things have changed, and then you finally decide, as a couple, to go your separate ways. I, like you, started out like the victim. I had my whole list of everything he did wrong and I did right. And then through therapy and real conversations with God, I had to answer some real questions for myself. Like, was I emotionally detached? Yes. Was I a workaholic? Absolutely.
There's some deep stuff with this too, though, because just real quick, I didn't necessarily look at myself as a victim. I actually beat myself. I blame myself for everything.
Really? Wow.
I blame myself for everything. Like, I literally blame, God had to be like, hey, man, let's look at this a little bit. It ain't just your fault, man.
Wow. So we had the opposite.
Yeah, I thought I didn't fight what she said. Now, I tried to make up for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it was too late. One thing about ladies, y'all be gone.
Yeah, we do. When our mind is made up.
We don't even know it. We be like, you'll put 3-4 more years into it, be gone for those 3-4 more years.
No, it's true.
And we don't know it. We be like, we try to make up. We like, hey, we good now. Like, nah, bro. I've been gone.
When a woman decides to leave, she made that decision.
Yeah.
Years before, usually. And she just allowed it to pile up. But for a woman to decide to leave a relationship is past, like, the point of no return.
But that's scary, too, because if a woman knows that you're in this place of beating yourself up,
that's tough.
They take advantage of that.
That's tough.
And I remember that happened, that's why we got to be careful about everything we do.
Yeah.
I do believe in karma.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? People always quick to give you that because you did this. This was going to happen to you. But I'm like, you wasn't nice either, actually, in those years. Maybe you forget.
Yeah. I mean, we all play a role.
Yeah.
Right? And I think about for you with your weight loss journey, like me, I've lost 40 pounds. It gets you, once you get through the grief, it gets you into a zone of like, all right, now I have, if I'm blessed, 50 more years left on this planet. I got to get it together.
Well, that's what made me mad, too, about when I gained all the weight. It's like, why y'all ain't say nothing? This was different.
Bro, nobody's going to tell you that.
But that's the problem.
That's the problem, yes.
Right? Because that's when I was depressed.
Yes. Yeah.
I think people just like this thing if we all could be in the same place.
Miserable together.
As you better yourself, that's when everybody start kind of poking at you. What you doing? Mm-hmm. What's different? I'm happy.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. Like, oh my God, what are you doing? I say, I'm happy. No, but for real. No, this is what happiness looks like.
Yeah. So when they say you've changed, what do you say?
Thanks.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I'm not supposed to be the same person.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that's the most complicated thing about relationships. I think we got to be okay with whenever this time, each person is going to have these different versions of them as they go through life, as they learn things about themselves. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because that's actually what's the thing that don't make it boring. If it's the same old, that gets kind of routine and boring. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think that's one of the things I love about my relationship now. It's just like, okay, and it's so funny because we've had it was smooth the way everything happened to get together. As we've been building towards the marriage part of it, it's been the most complicated. But it's because we're trying to navigate these lives we created for ourselves to survive.
Okay, so I have to ask you what I know every woman watching wants to know. How did you know your fiance was the one? Did you know it from the moment you met her? Like, what was the moment that you knew she was the woman you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
That's a great question. It wasn't from the beginning. It was, because it's fun. After you go through a divorce, you're like, I thought that was the one,
Mm-hmm.
So let me...
Maybe my radar's off.
Let me take my time with these ones things. So it had to be a couple different moments. Okay. I think one of the most beautiful moments for me with her was I was having a very vulnerable moment. And I love the way she took care of me. Oof. And it didn't make me feel like less of a man.
Okay, what does take care of you look like? Not even specifically, but what does taking care of a man look like to Rel?
Well, it depends. Like in my vulnerable space, because what's crazy? We grew up when you see a man crying or doing anything like that. It's like, oh, he's being soft. Come on, man up, this and that. And in my moment of that, because it was after I did some macho thing, right? I told off the student, like, yeah, this is what it is, and y'all kiss my ass, And I got off the phone like, what did I just do? I just ruined everything, and I was just soaking. I was crying, and she didn't say anything. She just rubbed my back. But then this is the beautiful moment. This is when I knew somebody was paying attention to me. She had her assistant get some crab legs. I love crab legs. It's my relaxing food.
Me too. So random.
Very random. Because I like the snow crab and breaking it. It relaxes me. It's like, it's very weird, but it's a thing. And man, and then that night, we just held each other. I don't know. It was like, all right, I didn't feel like, because I could be honest, with my ex-wife, it was a moment like that. When my mom passed, and me and her talked about this. It was a moment where I was on the kitchen floor just balled up crying. She never seen me like that before. You lose your mama, you turn into an infant almost. It's like the little kid. You don't care how grown, that's the pain of mama. That. And my ex-wife really didn't know what to do with that. She didn't necessarily comfort me. She kind of turned it around. I loved your mama too. And then she started crying, and now I'm comforting her. And I'm like, wait a minute. I need to be comforted. That's my mama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's I don't look bad.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't know what to do with me. And so that became something that became very important to me moving forward in any relationship. Because at the end of the day, I am a man's man. I'm a provider. I love a lot of the old school things. That is who I am. But at the same time, I do have emotional intelligence too. And I wanted to be with a woman who can respect that. Like, you're going to get all that of me. That don't make me, that doesn't come off like, well, now I can't take care of the family because I had a moment where I cried, or, you know what I mean? Like, that's a part of being a human being. I have to let these emotions out. If I keep it in, it's going to get crazy. I don't want to be that no more.
It's so powerful to hear you say that. And for me as a mom of young Black boys, I think we rarely hear our brothers say it's okay to cry, right? And rarely hear our brothers talk about mourning over their mom's transition and their mom's passing. And so for me, I think it's such a lesson in love, right? To hear you say for your fiance to give you the space that you needed, rub your back, right? Make you feel seen in that moment is something that I needed to hear, because I think so often we raise our boys but don't always know exactly how to love our men, right? And so that for me was powerful to hear, because it's something that I needed too. So
but you got to know you need that, though. You know what I mean? That's another thing too. If you don't know you need that, I mean, when I started having these moments of starting to understand who I am, I mean, even just to the point of knowing my own body. I remember I was dating this girl, and we was on a trip, and she pissed me off. Like, I was heated. And she wanted to do the whole makeup sex thing. I was like, no, this is my body, and I don't want to do it. And I stormed out the room.
My
with
body,
arms
my
folded.
choice.
My body, my choice. And she was like, what? And I was walking down the hallway like, did I just do that? But it was something I just learned that I should start thinking like that. Because we're not taught to think like that.
Right. She wanted angry sex.
She wanted it. But we used to be guys being like, all right, cool is what it is. But I had to start, I've said, if I'm going to teach my sons this, I need to teach them to respect their bodies.
Yes.
I think that's one of those things that can help out in a lot of ways. It'll cut down a lot of stuff if men respected their bodies. If you don't respect your own body, you ain't gonna respect nobody else's. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
And that could go, that's a whole nother deep conversation, but that's real talk. And once I started looking at it from that perspective, it even changed the way I dated and in relationships. It took the thirst out of everything. I didn't move in a thirsty way. Like, it's more intimacy things I wanted, before it's like, all right, we're just going, no, before we get there, I want to know you and feel you. I want to feel what this is, not just physically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Connection.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, talk about turning the tables. I did not expect today to go so deep in mental health, and I'm glad that it did. Because I think our brothers are crying out for love and support. I know me, as Black women, we certainly are crying out too. And I think this type of conversation we should be doing more.
Thank you for having it with me. I do believe, that's something I've been like yearning for and it's been happening because I've been talking about it more, but just meeting other men and we just having these very real, like sometimes we used to tie things into sports, like, man, Kyrie Irving killing. Anyway, how your kids doing? You know what I mean? Like, but I like the fact now we're starting to have really deep conversations.
Yes.
And that for me it started with therapy. Real quick, and I swear I'll be done so you get out of here.
No.
But one of the moments I knew that was so important in my friendship, one of my good friends, my brother, best friend, lost his daughter recently. And I don't think none of us knew what to do with that, right? We all were hurt because all of our kids to each other is our kids. So we're all in pain, but not his pain. And that was one of my therapy sessions. Wow. One of my therapy sessions with my therapist, like, I need to figure out how to talk to him. And it was first me dealing with how I felt about what happened. I had to be honest about two things, how we sometimes like, well, I got to put myself in the other person's shoes, but honestly, I don't want to.
Yes.
I don't want to know what it feels like to lose a daughter. I don't want to know that pain. I have no idea what that is. But one of the things she said to me that was powerful, she's like, well, call him and just tell him you tell him how you talking to me, how you want to be there for him, and just listen. So I walk out the office, I go in my car, I call my friend. I didn't even leave the area yet. I said, look, man, just real quick. I know you putting on this strong front and doing all this stuff. Man, if you want to call me and talk about anything, brother, I don't care if you call me, you just crying. You lost your daughter, bro.
Daughter, I can't imagine.
So how you're like, and they were like this. So it's like, hey, man, look, I don't care what it is. I don't care, everybody. I don't care. I don't care if it's angry. I don't care if it's you vent to me about how you mad at God.
Yeah.
I'm here, bro. And it was just quiet on the phone. And he was just like, all right. Now, it wasn't until I heard him tell a story to some friends. I don't even know if he knew I was standing there. And he's like, he don't even know how to, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, because it was just like, this is just the truth.
Yeah.
And I just knew in that moment that is how I want to approach all my friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think for you to have that light and to extend that light and to create that safe space for someone that didn't know where to turn. I promise you there are people who will be listening to this that you'll set free to, because where do we turn? Where do our brothers turn when you lose a child, or when you're going through a divorce, or when maybe you reach your breaking point and you don't want to be here anymore?
Man, have you seen the Christina Applegate? I was listening to her podcast the other day, and I went to praying for her after I listened to that. It really broke my heart about, just her living with this disability now and not
wanting to go on.
Man,
Yeah.
and that's gotta be tough. And then, like, for her, it's like the only way to get through it is to still be funny, which is, honestly, comedy kept me alive, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it's just we need to give each other some empathy and grace.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You really don't know what everybody's going through. So, I don't know. Empathy and grace.
Empathy and grace. Thank you for turning the tables with me.
No problem.
Okay, so before you go, you got to find the clue. There is a clue in this room that has Chicago in it.
Oh, that's easy. Popcorn.
I knew it was going to be too easy.
That's Garrett's, right?
Garrett's popcorn. The random Garrett's popcorn in the back. Okay.
I've been staring at it, so I was like, what's that popcorn? And then when you said, oh, that makes sense.
Okay, not very discreet. I'll do better next time. Thank you.
No
Love
problem.
you much. Lil Rel, y'all. He's the best. Thank you.
Oh, man.